After 6 years of being on trial for the murder of Danny Sosa, today Dave Alamilla walked out of the Orange Walk chapter of the Supreme Court as a free man. Alamilla's lawyer, Dickie Bradley, obtained his freedom after submitting a no-case submission earlier this month, which was upheld today by Judge Herbert Lord. Reporter Norma Ruiz has been following the trial since its inception and today managed to speak exclusively to Alamilla as he walked out of court.
This was the scene outside the Orange Walk Higher Court this afternoon as Hilmer Dave Alamilla walked out a free man after being found not guilty of the murder of Daniel "Danny Boy" Sosa. The decision was handed down in the form of a 40-page ruling by Judge Herbert Lord after the defense made a no-case submission earlier this month. After reviewing the evidence presented during the 5 weeks of trial, the judge upheld the no-case submission presented by the defense on the grounds that the evidence submitted by the prosecution was tenuous as it rested mainly on hearsay evidence given by now deceased Gustavo Hernandez, along with evidence given by a second hostile witness. While Daniel Sosa's grieving family were visibly displeased by today's ruling, an emotional Alamilla spoke for the first time in 6 years. He told us he is happy he has regained his complete freedom.
I like Osemis. Thank God it's over.
How long you locked up? He was in prison as well?
4 years.
In prison, huh?
Yeah. And just want to be over. I can't chew a lot. Honestly. And I'm not joke, I don't wish on nobody. And this is where the media need for report. Not judge nobody if you don't know.
You get the facts, huh?
Exactly. Because we in a society easy for judge. And that's not fair. I almost lose everything, but thank God I got life. And I will continue. That's all I got to say.
After several weeks of trial, which saw 18 witnesses taking the stand, defense counsel Dickie Bradley says today's ruling culminates what can only be described as a very complicated case.
To my surprise, a pleasant surprise, today His Lordship, after spending 2 or 3 weeks going over this very lengthy trial, I think there were like 18 or 19 witnesses, looking at the law, looking at the inconsistencies, looking at the big gaps in the testimony, looking at what he called a lacuna in the matter, the judge clearly spelled it out in a 40-page decision that the famous case of Japhet Bennett that went all the way to the Caribbean Court of Justice is very clear. The trial judge is the guardian for a fair trial. A trial cannot be fair if you have a statement which raises so many doubts and is not a reliable statement. An unreliable statement will lead a court to arrive at an inaccurate decision. And he spent a long time going through everything in the case, and had we gone the full length of the trial, there would have been some even more serious concerns. If, as the police would want to say, if it was Hilmer Alamilla sitting in the driver's seat and the deceased is the passenger in the front, if he had shot him in the vehicle from close range, there's some real questions, because I think the bullet exited to the back of the head. But then worse than that, the bullet is way down, went through the bottom of the glass and sat on the rear view mirror. If you and I are standing and I shoot you through your head, true, sometimes bullet ricochet off substances in the body and so on. But listen, there was so much if and but and maybe. Court of law is not about speculation.
Looking solely at the evidence presented before the court, Bradley says today's decision was the right one.
2 persons were rounded up, and in the morning, the police were able to get a statement from each of those two persons. They claimed that two other persons were in a vehicle, Hilmar and the young man that lost his life, and that they saw a gun and they heard a gunshot. And upon hearing the gunshot, they broke out of the vehicle and dashed gone. But evidence from other persons who were around, in fact, saw them many minutes afterwards strolling casually and discussing the shooting. To complicate the matters, they say in their statements that they were high on cocaine, that they made the lines up and made a snort, that's the word that came out, or snot, in court. Then it turned out that not only did they give what is called a caution statement, each giving his own caution statement, a caution statement, as we asked the investigating officer, is when the police suspect you of being the person to commit the murder, you are told that in writing, and a justice of the peace signs right along the way. That yes, I've been told I can get a lawyer, yes, I've been told I don't have to say anything. Each one of those important constitutional rights are witnessed by a justice of the peace. So that happened in the morning, maybe around 8, 9 o'clock. And then it turned out in court that in the night of the said morning, each one of them also gave what is called an open statement. Like if somebody comes in and tell the police, listen, I see this, or I hear this, or I know this. So now you have each of the two witnesses who are claiming they were in the vehicle are giving two different statements, one in the morning, which is a caution statement when you are going to be charged as a suspect, and then a totally different open statement at night. In a trial where people don't know because they're drunk, or high, and they're not sure what happened, and as the judge pointed out, that the law is, when somebody not give a proper statement till 8 o'clock the night, but they are in custody all day. In fact, I think one of the officers said they were there till the next morning, that then you give a statement. You give a statement because they say that we are charge you, that you don't want to do it. A person will say anything not to be charged. A court has to take that into consideration. You're in a vehicle and something happens, you go to the police station or you call and tell them what happened. If you're too high, you wash your face in a ice cold water, and you can't. So the evidence against Mr. Hilmar Alamilla was like, it was too weak for the judge to continue the trial.
Daniel Sosa was killed in July of 2017. His body was discovered inside the parking lot of the Victoria Hotel with a single gunshot wound to the head. He was only 24 years old at the time of his death. Reporting for CTV3 News, Norma Ruiz.
After he was remanded to Hattieville for the murder of Sosa back in July of 2015, Alamilla obtained bail at the Supreme Court level on October of 2021.